Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of The Other Side of Addiction. Addiction isn't solely about substance abuse. It's about the intricate web of emotions, genetics, environment, and circumstances. It's about resilience and the constant tug of war between recovery and relapse. Today, our guest, Morris, who is a good friend of mine, today we're going to talk about the healing journey as well as mindset. For a lot of you listeners, you guys know how much we need both of those to help us in our journey of recovery. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you guys to my good friend, Mr. Morris. Thank you for being here with us today, buddy. I appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure, Al. It's good to connect with you, and every time I run into you or whatever, we always have great conversations, and I've always appreciated that about you.
Yeah, actually we do. And I apologize for the glare today. Since it's dark, I'm getting the glare coming off my glasses. And if I don't have my glasses on, you're gonna be a blur. So our listeners are just gonna have to deal with it.
Well, the good news is the little picture I see in your glasses shows me a good-looking guy.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I guess that's one way of looking at it. Yeah. You know, Morris, I've learned something about you here just recently, really, that I did not know, right? And I have found that out to be the case in so many instances. You know, it's crazy that with all the networking that I've done, when I started opening up about addiction and my wife's battle and even my battle that I had back in the early 2000s, lots of people that I've known for 8, 9, 10 years started pulling me off to the side and started talking to me about some of the journeys that they've gone through, some of the battles that they've gone through. And before the show, we were talking about a subject about the healing journey and mindset.
Mhm.
And it just doesn't really go just for those that are in long-term recovery or starting their journey in recovery. This is something that we need to use. I mean, all of us need to use on a daily basis, correct?
Yeah, I think so. And like the cool thing about this life is I don't think it's required of us, right? I don't think, I mean, not everybody's going to choose into doing inner work and wanting to improve their life. There's some people that just don't want to, and it's okay, right? So I think the main thing is looking at, where we are and where we want to go in life. And when the two aren't congruent, that's when we really want to take a look and see, what do we need to do to get to that other side, to get to that place, right?
Yeah,
And I like what you just said about environment, that partially it's environment, because um, especially when we are battling with addictions or feeling stuck or trapped in life, I think looking at our environment is really powerful. Um, Tony Robbins says proximity is power, right? And so if you're in proximity of a lot of powerful people, you're naturally going to gravitate in that direction. But if you are around people that are negative, they're using drugs, alcohol, pornography, any of those things that have more of a negative connotation, you're going to gravitate to that, right?
yeah.
And so and taking that one step further, we've always heard our parents say, or other people say, a lot of the gurus on the speaking circuit, they used to say, show me your five best friends and I'll tell you who you are. And that always sounded good, but then there's a company called the Heart Math Institute, and they study the energetic field of the heart. And the energetic field of the heart, it turns out, is way more powerful than the energetic field of the brain. And it goes out about 8 feet from the body, give or take a little bit. And the study that they did is what happens when two people's energetic fields come together. And what they saw was each person had a physiological reaction to the other person's energetic field. And so this means that we have some sort of communication through our energetic field. And it tends to be the person who is more solid in life and more solid in their beliefs will influence the other person more, right? And so we can see when we are in a place that we might not want to be, we're not where we want to be, it's important to surround ourselves with people that are going somewhere, people that are doing something. And I know from my own experience that even though I might want to be somewhere and going somewhere, if I automatically put myself in that environment and I'm not feeling it, it can be intimidating to me. And I might want to avoid it because when we're uh, drinkers or using drugs or we're only making a certain amount of money, say we're making 20, 30, $40,000 a year and we want to be at $100,000 a year or $1 million a year, well, we're comfortable in that income bracket. We're comfortable in the drinkers. We're comfortable where we are right now. And moving to another level can be really uncomfortable for us energetically. It could be like we feel like we don't fit in yet. Right. And so that leaves us a gap in where we are and where we want to go. And it's pretty rare that somebody can just say, okay, I'm going to be in that group now. It's pretty rare that somebody can do that and just sustain it and fit right in, right? Because the mind starts to say, you don't belong here. You're not good enough. You will never amount to that. You can't accomplish that, right? So this is when we know that it's time to do our inner work. It's time to look at what do we have to do to bridge that gap? What do we have to do to get over that body of water or over that ravine to that next step in life where we want to go? And there's an old law of attraction guy from the early 1900s named Neville Goddard. And I was listening to him today, and I've been listening to him a lot because he's friggin' amazing. This dude has some great conversations, right? And he said, the thing that you really want to focus on is making sure that your inner talk is congruent with your desired outcome.
You know, I love that. My head's just like, I mean, all these thoughts are popping like crazy with everything that you just said, Morrison. And I think the reason why is because it's connecting with my own life, with what's happened to me in the past 14 years, right? We get comfortable with things. And you said earlier, some people are okay with just being where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was at a job for 24 years. I was happy. I loved my job. I thought my life was great, right? I still
Yeah.
lived from paycheck to paycheck, even though I was making a ton of money. However, when I lost that job, someone came up to me and said, and I've said this on the show many times, they said that they didn't trust me.
Mm,
And that really hurt, right? That a friend
yeah.
said they didn't trust me. And they called me a liar and a manipulator. And I
Wow.
called BS on it. But then when I started thinking about it, I went, oh my gosh, you know what? They're right. I used to lie and manipulate my way just so I didn't get in trouble as a kid.
Yeah.
Didn't realizing didn't realize I was mastering my craft as I was getting older.
Mm,
And it got to where if Al didn't get his way, I knew how to get my way, right? I could lie and I can manipulate.
yeah.
I started realizing that my life wasn't as great as it really was. And I've been
Mhm.
working on myself the past 14 years. And
Yeah.
with you saying bringing certain people into your life, I mean, I had good friends in the past, you know, but not like what I have now.
Mm,
And it's from reading books, which I wasn't a reader, and reading books and getting myself out there and surrounding myself with so many amazing people. And really, I'm not the one that was doing it. In my eyes, this is my version of it. God was placing them in my life. And he has now surrounded me with some of the most inspirational people I've ever, my whole life been around. And a lot of my guests are that way. The majority of my guests are that way. And
yeah.
I love hanging around these people because it's changed my life completely. And when you said our head starts talking to us, I like to think of it as it's our subconscious, right? Our subconscious doesn't know what's real and what's fake. It's just there to protect us. And
Mhm.
here's some of my even recent experience that we're afraid to go jump in a different swimming pool because we think we don't deserve to be in that swimming pool.
Yeah.
So by doing that, we will pull ourselves away from what we really want,
Mhm.
but then we'll turn around and we'll connect back with something that we just got out of or have been away from for years because that feels more comfortable to us, right? Because we're
Right.
afraid of where this is going to take us over
Yeah.
here. And I'm a big believer that if we have a fear of something other than our normal fear, right? Like a bear approaching us or coming close to a cliff or whatever. But if something fears us to do something, I my version of it is that's something that you really need to do because if not, you're pulling yourself away from making yourself better.
Yeah. And I think I agree with that to a certain degree.
Okay.
Um, because there might be some things that we just don't want to do. I mean, like a lot of people just don't want to jump out of a damn airplane, right?
That's well,
So
that's true.
yeah, so it's like, but I think you're right in our day-to-day activities. Whenever we find out that we are afraid of something, we have told ourselves and believed some sort of a lie, right? We've made up a story, and so yes, I think it serves to step into that which we are afraid of, and because it will generally shed the light on something new for us. And so I think, yeah, I mean, somebody who wants to make it move in a different direction in their life, that certainly serves.
Yeah.
And so uh the stories that we have made up, like our body is full of all sorts of stories, belief systems, thoughts. And what you said about the the subconscious mind, like our whole body and our whole nervous system is programmed to be a certain way right now. And some of that we programmed, and some of it was programmed for us in our early childhood, right? Which
Yeah.
I believe is part of our survival system, right? Dr. Wayne Dyer wrote in his book Excuses Be Gone, he talks about the mind virus, how when we are a child and we're new into this world, our environment is non-verbally speaking to us in a way that conditions our brain so that we can see what it takes to survive in this family, in this household, in this community, right? We're learning non-verbally by observing and things that we just feel, and we can see, oh, mom just slapped Johnny for that. I'm probably not going to do that, right? And so we're learning all of this stuff, and which programs us for survival in our immediate surroundings, because there's a certain part of us that says you get cast out, you die, right? We all have that fear innately, and it's buried pretty deeply, but I think every one of us have faced that at times, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
so we get all of this conditioning to uh to our bodies, and they say that our conditioning continues till we're in our late 20s, right? But our first 7 years we're massively open because we're mostly in theta state, and everything that happens and is told to us, we take it as law, right? And it could be the biggest lie. And so we go through our 20s, and then we spend the rest of our life trying to undo all of that and get to the truth, right? But we have to appreciate where we came from, because it helped mold us and shape us in a way that we could survive. And even though we all had bad experiences and traumas and all this stuff that scared the shit out of us, helped us make up stories. But I believe that we knew that before we came here, and it's part of the game that we set up to play when we got here, right?
Yeah.
We're going to go down
Yeah.
there and we're going to get all fucked up, and we're going to be, do all these things and experience all these things, and then we're going to try and figure out how to get back home.
Yeah, it's definitely part of our journey, and I everything that you said, yeah, definitely resonates with me, and I don't know if you even noticed that when I was talking about the things that I was just discussing, I did not use the word belief
Mhm.
because the word lie is in belief,
Yeah,
and I may believe something and you may believe something. It doesn't mean I'm right and you're wrong or you're right and I'm wrong, right?
exactly.
So one of my guests basically said this. I think it was she goes, I like to use the word my version. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I love that. Right. So I've been working on that. However, what you're saying of how we've been programmed, because I grew up in a family with a father that when things didn't go right, you threw a fit. You hit things, you threw things, you kicked things. So my version of it was if things don't go right, this is how you're supposed to act,
Yeah,
right? This is the proper way of acting when this happens. Until in my mid-20s, I hurt someone that I cared about.
yeah,
And when I saw him laying on the floor, I'm going, wait, 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 this isn't right. Right. And you
yeah.
talked about going into our 20s. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's 100% right. And however, I still do believe that some of us just get so comfortable that we don't want to change. And I've had people even tell me, "Oh, I'm too old to change. This is how my life's always been." And I call BS on that. There's always time for change, right?
Totally agree.
Always, always.
I want to go back to something you were saying about your friends and the people that have come into your life. And first of all, the person that told you that they didn't believe you or they didn't trust you. What a great friend
Hmm.
they were in that moment,
Yes.
right? I mean, and many times we could look at that and be like, oh, I can't believe they said that, man. They're such a jerk and blah blah blah. But when we can get real about life and step past the feeling um, feeling like we just got smacked in the face, when we can step past that and get past that pain and really take a look in the mirror, which you were able to do, congratulations. Those can be some of the best gifts ever in our world, right? And I love what you're saying about how when you decided that you wanted to shift, then new people started showing up in your world, right? And so I I look at it like when we are ready and we can see where we want to go and we're committed to go there. Once you make that commitment, set your intention, the God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, starts putting that in motion for us. Because my version is the universe only says yes. It only says yes to us. And we are the ones that guide the ship. If we are focused on negative, drugs, alcohol, pornography, stealing, the universe says yes. That's where you go, right? Yes, there you go. There's more of it, more of it. And it's up to us. And I think this is our free agency, right? It's like Jesus is quoted as saying, you can't. Everybody has free agency, right? And so when we start to focus on a better life, and we are committed to that, the universe says yes, 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 right? And sometimes we feel like, well, we've had things taken away from us. We had these things that weren't in my control, which may be the truth in this moment. You didn't have control, but what about the 30 days leading up to that event? Like, say, the car crash, or somebody stole from you, or whatever, that felt like you're a victim of circumstance. But guess what? Your whole life led you to that moment right there, right? And so it's so important to be aware of where our thoughts are taking us. In fact, I don't know if you know Dr. Joe Dispenza, but he talks about mindset so much. He's like, don't ever let one thought escape you or go unnoticed. That's how important every single thought is. Because if our thinking is in the gutter for a week or 10 days or 30 days, car crash, right? Or something like that. It will lead you in that direction, right? And so it's so important to know what we are thinking. And what we are thinking comes from a lifetime of conditioning and programming. right? So I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's difficult to all of a sudden decide I'm going to be positive mindset. I'm only going to think positive things. And that's great. If somebody could do that, I want to learn from that
Right.
person, right? I want to hang out with that person
Yeah, yeah,
because
no kidding.
like I've been doing transformational work. I went to my first transformational workshop in February. It'll be 28 years ago, and that's how long I've been at this, right? And I've had some amazing transformations in my own life. I've done a lot of healing work. I'm more peaceful inside of myself than I've ever been. But guess what? Even yesterday, I had a shit ass day where I had a hard time getting my mind on track. It took me almost all day to get out of the resistance, right? And it's not that that's necessarily a bad thing. The thing that makes it not so desirable is when we're unconscious about that and we stay in that loop, right? Because we can stay in those unconscious negative loops for days and days and days and months and years if we're not paying attention.
Yeah.
And we all know that cantankerous uncle or grandpa or whatever that's just ornery and pissed off, and their wife left them 40 years ago and they're still in that mood, they're still in that same frame of mind. And I say, like, how would it be to live like that,
Oh yeah.
right? And we all have the capability of staying right there. And so if you want change in your life, you have to step outside of that mood, out of that conditioning, and start to move in a different direction. And the biggest thing in that is not only just thinking that you can accomplish it, but what is my self concept? What am I thinking about myself? Right? Because every single thought you have, even if it's just a little teeny thought of doubt, if you let that slip by unnoticed, it will create another thought of doubt. And before you know it, you spend a whole day in resistance.
Yeah. And I want to touch on this because paying attention, I mean, I read the book Conscious Creator and I've read it twice, and it really did help me start paying attention to my thoughts, right? Now, you lose track of your thoughts during the day, right? Because life happens and you've got all kinds of
Yeah.
things coming at you and then you come back. However, I want to throw something in there that our feelings matter, right? God gave us happiness, sad, depression, anger, all these feelings for us to go through all these emotions for a reason, right? Because again, I believe that's what builds us, that's what grows us. Some of us do stay stuck in that. I just recently went through something, and I would say probably close to 2 weeks of just not being me at all.
Yeah.
And the same shit. It was like frickin' it's like my favorite part in a movie, but this was a shit part in the movie where I'd play it, rewind it, play it, rewind it, play it, rewind it,
Groundhog Day.
all day long, right?
Yeah.
And then I just felt drained by the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I had a few people ask if I was okay, and it's like, yeah, I'm okay, but not really, right? I'm working through some emotions. I'm a firm believer with what I have learned. I allow myself to go through those emotions.
Hmm.
I allow myself to feel what it is that I'm feeling because I'm feeling it for a reason. However, I've also got the tools to go, okay, you know what? I'm tired of this shit. I'm done
Yeah.
with it, right? I felt
Hmm.
my emotions. It's not getting me anywhere. It's not benefiting my life. It's time to frickin' jump out of bed, pull my freaking britches back up, and get going back with life again, right? Because there's something else out there that's going to come at me as another challenge, and I got to be ready, whether it's a positive or a negative.
Yeah.
So because I am a firm believer too, like you said, you start getting too much of the negative shit and you start getting more of that in your life because I started noticing that happening. And I think that's what finally got me to wake up. It's like I'm creating this crap, right? I'm bringing it to me. I am definitely bringing it to me. So that's why I need to wake my ass up and get going again. And
Yeah.
that's kind of what you're saying right there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We our feelings and emotions are certainly there for a reason, and they can be tools, they can be guidance system, but they are a part of us as human beings, and we can't. I guess we can avoid them, but I think it's really beneficial to pay attention to what you're feeling and what you're emoting. However, especially as a man, if we let that guide the ship, we can often be misdirected, right? Those generally feelings and emotions are just little things that can say course correct, course correct, course correct, but don't let it steer the ship, right? Because
Right.
we as men, we are drivers, we're builders, we are protectors, we are um, uh, we're continuously needing to be in leadership position. And if you were the general leading your army to war, and you're like, gosh, I'm not feeling it today. Um, I just, I think I need to stay in bed longer. Right. I mean, it's just not, it's not congruent. We can't do that. So again, if you were the general and you're like, oh, God, I just have this feeling that we should take the army this way instead of that way. That's maybe a good sense of intuition, right? But it's like, so it's okay to notice your feelings and notice what your emotions are. And when you go through something and you need to cry, go in your room and friggin' let it out, right? Do it.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah.
it out. It's healthy to get that out. But as a man, I don't think there are too many women that want to see you be a blubbering idiot, right? So go somewhere where you need to and get your emotions out. If you have a buddy that you need to talk to, vent, do that. It's healthy to get them out, but don't let them run the show.
I don't know. I'll have to disagree with you on that one about the women seeing you blubber. I've had a few women tell me I'm sexy when I cry.
Mm.
Right. And sometimes in my public speaking, I break down and cry, right? Because my emotions are so deep. Now
Yeah.
when it comes to personal things, and I'm just kind of giving you some shit here, Morris, because when it
Mm.
comes to some personal things, yeah, I'll lock myself in a room or I'll go
Yeah.
somewhere and I'll just freaking break down and just lose it. Then I'll gather myself back together and go, okay, it's like a duck that just got chased by another duck, right? It goes out in the middle of the pond and shakes and quacks and then just swims on like nothing happened.
Yeah. So I'm not saying never do it, and it can be very powerful in speaking, but you don't let that lead the show.
No, right. Yeah, you don't.
Right.
Yeah,
So
definitely not.
so
Yeah, definitely
it's
not.
icing on the cake. It's something that gets people in touch with you, but it lasts for probably
Yeah. Yeah.
right. So it's just the moment. It's not leading the show.
Yeah.
Same with, you might be watching a show with a woman and you get a few tears in your eyes. Yeah, women want to see that you have sensitivity, but they don't necessarily want to see you lead with that sensitivity,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Because we're men,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so yeah, and some women are different in this. Some of them may find that sexy, but I don't think any woman wants to see their man totally broken down, lose control, right? So yeah, I'm not saying don't ever shed tears, but if you need to lose your shit, go where you can lose your shit
Yeah.
and be okay,
Yeah.
right?
And like you said, you have to still lead the ship. I agree with that 100%. You definitely have to lead that ship because, that is, I don't know.
Yeah,
I guess some say that is our job, right? That's how God made us.
yeah.
I don't know. And
Mhm.
I mean we could debate all kinds of stuff because other people they look at it in different ways and some don't. It's like even in the addiction world, right? Some people they're like, nope, 12 steps, man, that's it. That's the only way to go. Other people
Yeah,
who've been on the show go, oh hell no, I couldn't stand 12 steps. This is the
yeah.
way to go.
Mhm.
And again, it's our own individual journeys. However,
Yeah.
we can still pick up some tools along that way to help us with that journey, right? To help us get to where it is that we want to go.
Right. And I think it's important for people to look and see what serves them inside of that, but look and see from a place of being empowered, right? Because I would have a hard time doing 12 steps. And the biggest challenge that I have with 12 steps is the affirming every day that I am an alcoholic. That's the part that just never worked for me and won't ever work for me, because even if I am drinking out of control, I wouldn't consider myself an alcoholic. I would consider myself a man that's been acting in a way that doesn't serve him, a man that has a drinking problem. I wouldn't say I'm an alcoholic, because everything that I affirm to myself, I am. Anything
But
that follows, I am, yes, right? And so I'm not saying don't do 12 steps, because it has served a lot of people. So, but I just say be careful about what you say you are. And if you're going to say you are something, say something powerful about yourself, because the truth is we are all amazing, powerful human beings. And then we have all these layers of life that happened to us that just kicked our asses, beat the shit out of us, and knocked us around. And it kind of knocked the belief out of us, right? The belief that we are somebody good. And so all of these incidents and stories and traumatic experiences make us believe that in some way that we are flawed human beings, and we're conditioned from the time we're out of the womb to be less than we really should, right? We're loud as a child. Shut up, don't say that, don't do that, settle down, sit down. Kids are meant to be seen and not heard. And so from the time we're little kids, we're told not to be all of us,
yeah,
right? Rather than somebody, dad putting us on his knee and saying, hey, you're so amazing. And we have company now. Will you go outside and act like that? Because it's amazing. I want you to be all you are, right? We don't have those kind of conversations with our parents. It's more like, hey, dipshit,
no,
the hell are you thinking, right?
yeah,
And
absolutely.
so now we have the opportunity to reparent ourselves, right? To be the parent that we never had. Because most of our self-talk is like, oh, you're such a loser, man, you fucked that one up, boy. You oh, and almost every human being I know, no matter where they are in life, has probably a teeny bit more, at least a teeny bit more negative tendencies than they do positive, right? We're so conditioned to respond to everything that we see as imperfect. We make it about us and say, oh, you're a loser. See, you'll never get that right. You'll never get the woman. You can never stop drinking. You'll be this way for the rest of your life. You might as well just give up and die right now, because you're just fucking worthless.
Right.
Right? That's what our mind is doing all the damn time. And so, and those, every time your mind says that, it's like another dagger in the heart, another dagger in the heart, until we just become so numb. We're going through life, no feeling, no emotion, just like bleh. And we see so many people going to work and their 9 to 5s that are just bleh, right? They're just there for the damn money and they just hate it,
Yeah.
right? What kind of life is that? Man, there's so much more. And so I say, become the parent that tells you how amazing you are every day, with being with affirmations, and always feeding your mind with things that tell you how amazing you are, or at least help you point your thoughts in a direction that says, maybe I could do that. Like something that gives you some inspiration or some hope or some direction or whatever. And you know Al, because we're so deeply conditioned and programmed, we can't just go to a workshop once. We can't just read a book
Yeah.
once and think that we're going to be okay. I mean, we'll be okay, but our life might not improve, right?
No,
We
because
might continue to get the same things.
we're going to fall back in that same pattern, right? I mean, how many years did it take us to get to where we're at that point, to where we finally say, okay, I want to change my life, right?
Yeah,
You got to continue to work on it,
yeah,
and it's crazy. I've had a few people, just a few people, because I've just recently got divorced. I've had a few people say, you know what? You need to take this time and you need to work on yourself and you need to find out who you are. You know, thank you. And I mean, seriously, thank you for thinking of me. However, I do that every single freaking day of my
yeah,
life.
yeah,
No, this is how I see it. I will be working on myself until God calls me home. I will not stop, because it's a never, there is no finish line. So I don't need a divorce just to find myself, to spend time by myself, because I have spent time by myself being married, right?
Mhm.
I have
Yeah,
had 6 months of not having my spouse because she's in rehab or whatever. I've had this time, and I
yeah,
appreciate that they're thinking of me.
yeah,
However, also you said something earlier about I am, because I've said this on the show quite a few times. The words that follow I am follow you. And
mhm,
and that is so true.
yeah,
So yeah, it takes time. I have come so far in 14 years, since 2009. The people that I used to work with, if they sat down with me probably for a half hour to an hour, I know they would go, "Holy shit, that is not the same guy I freaking knew 14
yeah,
years ago."
yeah.
Right? Now, if you were to sit down and we didn't see each other for a long period of time, and 5 years down the road, you're probably gonna go, "Holy shit, that's not the same guy that I knew 5 years ago."
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's that
Which,
journey.
yeah, which is amazing, right? I mean,
Right,
I
yeah.
love seeing that in a person. It's so fun to see somebody that has really transformed themselves over the years. Um, I just want to say that, like, a divorce and things like that are such good wake up calls in life, right? I also went through a breakup earlier this year, and it was really painful for me. And it, I'm telling you what, it got me to look in the mirror in a way that I had never seen before. And I really had to dig deep in this because I really loved this woman, and yet we were just not good together. We loved each other, but it was just always difficult, right? And so that separation, just it was really painful in a way that I really had to look in the mirror. And my coach, she had me say, "What what do you miss about this woman?" And so I listed out the characters, and she said, "Okay, what you're missing in her is what you are missing in you. Because every single thing in this life is a mirror, always reflecting back to us what we are looking for in ourselves."
Yeah.
And so that put me on and I knew that, right? Because I've done some process like that before. I've done a lot of work around that. However, this got me to look really deep within and really pay attention, because I'm like, first of all, I don't like that pain, and I want to get through this pain as quickly as I can. And also, when I can bring that stuff forth and get it in my own body and understand and love that about myself, guess what? That helps me move to higher ground, because I'm not manifesting, I'm not attracting things from that lower level where I'm not feeling solid in myself. And the more I can bring the affirmative of I am those things, the more I can embody that, the more I teach my body to start bringing forth things that are better for me, like a new level of woman, a new level of career, a new level of whatever it may be that I'm looking for. But if we step away from the divorce or the breakup and go, God, she was such a bitch. Why couldn't she just like do this and that? And man,
Yeah.
I'm like, which is it's not bad and wrong for us to do that, because we are so conditioned to do that in this reality, right? That's our default. We go to that all of the time. But when we condition ourselves to now step back from the pain, I mean, we're all going to do it for a minute, be like, oh man, damn, because it's natural to do that. But when we can step back and say, okay, what's the gift? What's the message? And then get to a place where we can bless that person and honor that person and realize how much they served our journey. This is happening for me. Right now is happening for me, happening for that person to learn and to grow and to move to higher ground. So it's always a gift. It's always what's happening for me, not what's happening to me.
Yeah. I have to agree with that, Morris. And I think this really is what also leads us into our healing journey, right? If you are
Yeah.
to look at things that way.
Yeah.
Because everything that goes through us is a lesson. I
Mm,
mean, everything. And we talked about looking in the mirror early, and I had a good friend say that to me. It's the message in the mirror, right? Look in the mirror. Look at the
yeah.
message. What's the lesson behind it? And And he has really helped me look at things like that, right? When something goes astray, instead of getting upset. And I had to do that with just what I spoke about recently, about going through almost probably 2 weeks of this little funk I was in. Once I started getting my head clear and start going, okay, I got to get out of this, I started doing that, right? What's my lesson behind this? Because there is a lesson there. What was it? What was that lesson? That's also part of my healing journey right now, right? Is because now I'm going, oh, okay, I think I got it. I think I got the lesson, right? Because you don't want to keep putting your hand on that hot burner. I mean,
No,
you already know it's hot, but why do we as humans keep putting our hand on that freaking hot burner? Is it because
comfort,
yeah, comfort, exactly. Because we're comfortable doing it, even though
the
we know it's
comfortable
gonna
misery.
burn it. Right.
Yeah,
Now if we stop and we look at the lesson, like what you just said with your breakup, it leads us to a whole different level. Anyway, that's my version of it. I really do. That's part of our healing, to where
yeah,
now we can go to the next level, and we're going to experience something here too, right?
yeah,
And we're either
yeah.
going to stay there, or we're going to get the lesson and we're going to go to a next level.
Yeah. So here's what I want to say about the healing journey. So I've been at this. I've done so many workshops and seminars, and I have some workshops that I teach and lead. And there was a missing element that I'm just over the last year realizing that is missing in most of our healing journeys. I think the healing journey is important because it helps us become resolved and peaceful, and yet it also can keep us stuck in our comfortable misery, right? And the part of that healing journey is not just seeing what the lesson is or what the gift is, and seeing, because that's generally something out here that we're doing, or something about life. If we are just staying in the same mindset that we were in, we just stay there. We don't elevate to higher ground. But when we can now start to affirm who we are, so get the healing journey, but then also start to be like, okay, and the healing makes it so it's easier to do this. Start affirming that, like, for instance, if you want to up your income, say you're making 40, $50,000 a year and you want to go to $250,000 a year, right? Then you have to start saying, okay, I'm healed of that. That's no longer in the way, but now I need to affirm the belief that I am somebody worthy of making $250,000 a year. So the work doesn't end with healing that wound with mom. The work is only part of the way done. Now it's instilling the belief and the knowing and having the vision to get to where you want to go. So I think it's most of the healing work. I'm not saying healing is bad, because I think it's absolutely necessary to get us to where we are able to have more inner peace, because that's one of the most important things in my world, is my inner peace. But also, now I want to go somewhere. I'm peaceful, but now I want to create. Peaceful, now I want to create. I think it's so important that we put more emphasis on becoming the person that we want to become.
Yeah, yeah. Something that just crossed through my mind talking about that healing journey is, some of us do go down that wrong path of healing, right? And I'm falling back to like the addiction part of things, right? Because it's not the addiction. That's just the band-aid, right? That's our healing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm tired of feeling the way that I'm feeling because my parents abused me, or I was sexually assaulted, which has happened to so many of our guests, right? I just can't imagine going through that. So
Yeah.
this is my healing. I'm going to use a substance, or I'm going to eat, or I'm going to gamble, or I'm going to watch pornography, because that's my healing. I forget about it for a while, right? Is that kind of what you're saying, that also our healing journey can also be a bad thing in a way?
Well, I don't necessarily say it's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's only part of the equation,
Okay.
right?
All right.
I mean, if somebody only did the healing work, it still makes them a more peaceful, a person that you enjoy hanging out with more, somebody you would have better conversations with, somebody that gets along better in society, right? Because they're more peaceful now. They're not, uh, until we start doing our healing, like especially a lot of men, well, a lot of women too, we have that fight in us, that grinding where it's like somebody could just say the thing and we're just, we're ready to just kick some ass, right? Well, the healing journey helps us get to where we don't have that upset all the time, where we're not grinding all the time, where we're not unconsciously looking for that fight. And when we're unconsciously looking for that fight, guess who shows up?
The
The
fight.
person who's looking to fight, right? So it's
Yeah.
always we're always bringing forth, right? And so a lot of people will say, well, gosh, this person showed up and they yelled at me. Well, it means you have an unconscious, unresolved fight going on. And so guess what? The mirror shows up, somebody gets in your face to remind you that you might want to take a look at that, right? And it gives you
Yeah.
an opportunity to be like, okay, let me get that handled, right? So I think that's absolutely an important part of the journey. But if we only do that, we just become more peaceful. We don't necessarily create more, move to where we want to go, right? And it does help our confidence and stuff like that. But I think it's so important to continually focus on, what am I creating? What am I doing with my self-concept? What am I doing to become the person I want to become, make the money I want to make, have the relationship that I want to have? Because all the things we can do out here, like for instance, in relationship, you can learn new skills in a relationship, right? Like listening. I'll listen to my partner more and I can affirm what she just said. I can hug her. I can maybe not lead with sex all the time. I can, there are a lot of skills that we can learn that can help the relationship. But until we truly believe that we deserve more, it's just surface shit. It's like, it's like, building your house in the sand that
Yeah.
it talks about in scripture, right? So it's because it's out here, and you can't protect things out here until you protect things in here, which means build your solid foundation in here, knowing that I am more, knowing that I deserve more, knowing that I am creating my highest level that I can imagine of myself. Then when you learn the new skills, bam, in fact, when you go to that level inside of yourself, the skills automatically kind of fall into place. You just do things in a different way, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we believe that we deserve it. And it's not just this like, I am a better lover, I am a better lover, I am a better lover, right? Because we're thinking that. I mean, that doesn't necessarily hurt, but it's like when we embody that, I am a better lover. Like all of me, my whole body knows that now. That's the difference than just thinking positive,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That will trump all of the skills.
I love that. And I think what you just said, the surface shit, that would be a great topic, right? That would be a great talk. Surface shit. I mean, seriously, because we're all carrying it around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And we know a lot of people, you can see that they're all about the surface, and it doesn't mean they're bad people. They just really, really, really want something different, and that's all they know how to bring to the table at this moment, right?
Yeah.
And if we look at our whole world, right? In essence, our our actions don't often match who we really want to be, right? Because we're so conflicted inside of ourselves. We're so unresolved. We carry so much pain. We carry so much doubt. And so it's like being able to look at people with more compassion, right? I think first we have to look at ourselves with more compassion, right? But it's like us humans generally do the best we know how to do. And I think we can all agree it's difficult to be on this planet right now. It's difficult,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And because there's so much going on and so much friction and this and that and distraction and like, oh my God, were we even built to handle all of this? Well, time will tell. But I think if we can all just fucking relax and stop taking everything so serious and laugh at ourselves and have a good time and realize that, we're all going to be okay. We're going to be okay. And have more compassion upon ourselves and not be so harsh on ourselves when we trip up again, when we accidentally have another drink, or we bring in the same type of partner and go through the same bullshit again, right? Like, have compassion for ourselves and know that we're doing the best that we know how to do at this moment.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, say for instance, you lose your partner, you go through a divorce, a breakup, or whatever, man, sometimes it just feels so shitty that you just go attract somebody just so you're not alone. And it's like, it doesn't make us bad, it doesn't make us wrong. It's like, god damn, we're hurting, right? We're hurting. We just want to feel better,
Yeah.
right? But we have to know that that's temporary. Getting the drink or getting that lover that's just going the same place, it's just a temporary fix, and we have to be aware of that, because we truly cannot move to higher ground until we take care of that pain, until we take care of that loneliness or that emptiness inside of ourselves, right? And it's our job, it's our responsibility, no matter who hurt us, no matter who hurt us or what happened to us. Yeah, it hurts. Yeah, it conditioned us in some ways. But at the end of the day, it's our responsibility to take inventory and say, you know what? Yeah, they did that to me, but it's my job now. It's my responsibility to pick myself up, like you said earlier, strap on your boots and get back at it. Do what you have to do to heal that wound and move forward and recreate yourself.
That's why it's the healing journey, right? Because
Yeah.
it is that journey.
Mhm.
Yeah. And yeah, and figure out the lessons behind all of it for sure.
Yeah.
Something that you said too earlier about how the universe is always saying yes. And again, it works in both ways, for sure. It's a crazy story. Not too long after I had lost my job and I was starting to work on myself, you know, um, I had a job where I was selling insulation for the energy home conservation stuff. I was inspecting attics and qualifying people to get insulation and all that stuff. And I remember this customer that I had who wanted to give me a book, and it was Eckhart Tolle's book, The New Earth.
Yeah.
And I sat on it for a while, probably a couple months, and just kind of started picking at it, and finally started reading it and went, oh my gosh, this is pretty interesting. Not too long after that, I started getting these emails called the law of attraction. Now, this is how naive I have been with all this shit, right?
Yeah.
I thought it was a dating site. I'm like, how the hell did this dating site start popping up in my emails, right? Law of attraction. That's how my mind was thinking, right? And I kept deleting them. And I couldn't figure out why I was getting it all of a sudden. I didn't click on anything that I know
Yeah.
of. And then one day I went to go delete and I actually hit open and it opened up and I started reading. I went, oh, holy shit. It's not a dating site. That's
Yeah.
what really started opening my mind to a lot of this stuff. Right. And we
Yeah.
talked about it at the beginning of the show. That was a whole new page that was coming into the book, a whole new chapter. And I was bringing it into my life without me even realizing I was doing it.
Mhm.
Because where did it show up? I
Yeah.
mean, I just how I'm looking at it, right? I'm going back 14 years ago going, how the hell did that email even show up? Because I wasn't clicking on anything. And I know if you start looking on the internet and different things, you start getting all these ads and, or the computers are always listening or phones are always listening. But
Yeah.
I found that as I started going into my journey, I found that very interesting. And that was literally that customer, that book, Law of Attraction email. I went to a chamber luncheon, put my business card in, drew out. I won another Eckhart Tolle book, The Power of Now.
Yeah.
Now I got The New Earth and The Power of Now by the same author.
Mhm.
My journey began right there.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. Yeah, I just opened this old CD case, and you can't see all of it, but Power of Now.
The power of now. I would rather listen to it on a CD than read it. That was a hard read for me.
Yeah, yeah. Somebody had copied those back. I mean, I just found this in the compartment in my car from like almost a decade ago. Somebody had copied those CDs for me, and
Wow,
yeah, so kind of funny.
that is
Um,
funny.
yeah, so I love, like, I feel like the more in tune that I get to it, and the more that I see the perfection of the system that we live in, the more hope, the more excitement shows up. And some days you're just like, ugh. It's frustrating because it's like wanting to break through to a new place, and we keep bumping our head up against things, and but then being able to realize it's not the out here, it's not the universe, it's not this person's fault, it's not that, it's me. If I'm still bumping my head up against that same glass ceiling, it's me.
Yeah,
Nothing else. That's it. And that's empowering. It's frustrating at times, but it's really empowering knowing that we have the capability if we're willing to put in the time, if we're willing to put in the work. And I don't mean going out and digging the ditches harder. I mean going on the inside and knowing that we are worth more, not just thinking that we are, not just hoping that we are, but actually knowing,
yeah,
embodying. Right, when we embody something and we walk the walk, then that's when shit changes and gets real.
yeah. And you just said here just a little bit ago about this outside world. You know, I and again, I'm not asking anyone to change their life. However, life is so much better when you're not watching the news and you're not watching all the negativity. Again, they call it programming for a reason
Yeah.
because we are getting programmed, right?
Yeah.
I I have people that are in my life just intermediate and stuff like that that you get around them, that's all they talk about.
Yeah.
That is all they talk about. And
Mm.
it only takes me a short period of time where it's like, I just got to get the hell out of here because I don't want to hear this shit
Yeah.
anymore, right? Because this is
Right.
not the energy level I want to be.
Yeah.
And I've had some people, call me out on it because I want to live in my world. I want to live
Yeah.
in my world where I see unicorns and rainbows and there's candy and chocolate rivers and I'm just kind of painting a picture here.
Hmm.
I don't want to be in a world where there's destruction and anger
Yeah.
and hate and
Right.
all that, right? Even though I know it's there,
Yeah.
I don't want my life to be associated with it
Hmm.
because I don't want to bring that into my life.
Yeah.
And I think many of us fall into that trap. And it takes us so completely away from where we can actually go and our happiness. It takes away our happiness.
Totally. You bring up a great point. Um, I stopped watching TV somewhere around 2008, 2009, and yeah, other than once in a great while, I might watch a movie with somebody or whatever. But I just don't like what it feeds my mind. And so the point that I like that you're making is right now, most people would probably agree that our government's out of control. There's a lot of things happening in this world that we don't like, and that and man, it can be consuming like a mofo right now. But if we remember that we are the creator of our life, period, end of story, that's how this system works. Then what do we really want to fill our mind with? Because even if I totally despise what the government's doing right now, can I make a difference? Can I go down to the Capitol steps and can I make a difference? I could attend a rally. I could sign a petition. I maybe get a spot on the news. I can rally some people around me, but it doesn't make that big of a difference until it reaches a mass level, which, yes, somebody can do that, but it's only the people that generally are massively convicted because they feel it in here.
Yeah.
So until we really truly feel in here what we want to create, and we can't focus on the negative thing that they're doing, right? So I encourage anybody that's getting caught up in what's going wrong in their life, what the government's doing, what all of the pharmaceutical companies, anything like that. Yeah, I don't like it either, right? But if I feed my mind that all the time, guess what I'm doing? I'm supporting their story. I'm
Mm-hmm.
supporting the government story. I'm even if I'm against it, I'm putting energy into it. So
Yeah.
I'm helping that build energy and momentum, right? So now it's like Jesus said, or was quoted as saying, turn the other cheek.
Yeah.
Focus on what we want to create in our world. The absolute best gift we can give this world is doing our inner work and creating what we came here to create, living our purpose, living our passion, and being a contribution to the world. Because somebody, their purpose and their passion might be taking on the government, it might be taking on pharmaceutical companies, it might be making crosswalks at the proper places. It might be creating a food source that's amazing, right? We all have our purpose. But I'm telling you, when the person knows who they are, gets connected with their purpose, with their passion, and then takes it on from here, not
Yes.
just out here, it makes a massive difference because when you get aligned with spirit, it lends a hand. And it will, the more you're tapped into it and the more you believe and live that, the more of a hand it will give to you, and the more people you will enroll because you are passionate, you are leading in this. That's how movements are started. They're not started out here. No passionate leader ever started by just saying that fucking government and fighting against them. No, they took it on passionately about what's my solution, what's my contribution, how do I move forward in this, and that's where the movement starts.
Yeah, absolutely. With insight, and with you saying that, I want to say this really quick. I read the book Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill.
Mm,
This book was
such
written back in 1934, right?
yes.
His wife made him promise that that book would not be published as long as she was alive.
Yeah.
I remember a spot in there, and I've said this on the show many times, and it's crazy that this is one of the ones that really stuck in my brain. And it goes about how we're feeding it, right? How we're feeding that negativity because we're so upset with it, and we're constantly helping them. I remember Napoleon Hill asked the devil if he was afraid of religion, and the devil chuckled, said, "Religion? Oh heck no! Religion is my greatest ally."
Yeah. Yeah.
How can religion be your greatest ally? Napoleon Hill asked the devil. He says it's because they put the fear of people of me, right? They put the fear of me in the people, and fear is my greatest strength.
Yeah.
So while we're all out here worrying about, like you said, we're putting our focus and our concentration, our mind, our power, our energy into that, we're feeding it so much. We're adding more flames to it. Bring the flame over to you, right?
Yeah.
Bring that creation more into your soul and your body,
Yeah.
and think more positive, because that's where the change is really going to happen. So I
Yeah.
love that you put it that way. That was very well stated.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Morris, gosh, we've got an hour already. It's so hard to believe it goes by so quick. Something that I ask my guests at the end of every show. You can answer both, you can answer one, you can combine it. I don't care, whatever comes to mind for you. What did you want our listeners to gain from this show? And what would be your main message?
Yeah. Um, what I would love for everybody to get is for them to know that they are way more than they think they are. They're way more than they give themselves credit for. And we can go as far as we can see, right? And if you only see yourself as making 25,000 or 50,000 a year, or only having this kind of relationship, that's only as far as you can go. And so continue to expand on who you believe you are and what you believe you can have. And I think like we talked about earlier, is becoming more and more aware of our thoughts and what we're thinking, because so much of our mind power is wasted on unconscious rhetoric. It's not used to the capacity in which it could be used, and most of it is a negative loop. Like, I just want to share this. So many times I will catch myself, like, if I was speeding and I saw a cop, I'd be like, oh, what if that cop pulls me over? And oh, would he pull? Well, I would tell him this, I would try and get out. It never even happened. And I'm wasting my time on this negative story. And I'm doing it unconsciously to a certain degree. And then I'm like, why am I even thinking that? Right. So even as much work as I've done on this for myself, I still notice how much unconscious negative rhetoric occupies the brain. Yeah. And so, like Joe Dispenza said, get uber aware of your thoughts. Do not let any thought go by unexamined. And when you notice you're thinking negative, find some sort of affirmation or some sort of thought, whatever, that you can counteract that and get more into a positive space. So always do your best to align your internal conversations with your desired outcome.
I love that. I love that. And really it is pretty simple to do, right? Yeah. If you really think about it, it is fairly simple. Now,
it's
however,
simple,
will it stay? No, it probably won't until you start working it more and more and more and more. Yeah.
There's always momentum either way. Momentum to the negative or momentum to the positive, whichever side you pay more attention to and work on.
Yeah. It's like, let's use a breakup, for example, right? We go through a breakup. Sometimes what do a lot of us do? Have a drink, listen to sad music, right? So we can escalate our sadness.
Yeah.
Instead, still feel sad. Maybe if you still want to have a drink, have a drink. Put on some freaking rock and roll, man, that makes you smile and dance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, in case your viewers are noticing it, this is my vanilla cream. It's like when I do stuff like this, I like to have a nice little treat for myself.
Yeah. Non-alcoholic vanilla cream.
Exactly.
Yeah. Morris, man, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being on the show and taking time. Pleasure. To be with us today, man. This was great conversation. I love getting into conversations like this. I can talk about this shit for another hour. Easy.
Yeah, me too. I love it. So thank you for inviting. I really appreciate it. And it's always great to connect with you, my man, and hopefully we'll do more of it.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, definitely. Maybe there's something in the near future where we can share a stage together. I who knows, because I'm really wanting to escalate my speaking career.
Yeah, and by the way, if people want to connect with me on Instagram or something to continue more conversations,
yes,
the Morris Kunz at Instagram, they can reach me, because I love having these kind of conversations. So,
will you text that to me, Morris, so I can make sure it gets put on the caption, so it's on the notes?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, again, Morris, thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Appreciate all our guests, all our past guests, sponsors, listeners, guys. Again, none of this would be possible if it wasn't for you. You guys are making this happen. It's hard to believe, man. We are literally only like 2 months away, 2.5 months away from 3 years doing this. And it's all because of you guys. You guys are making this possible. So thank you so much.
Good job, man. Yeah,
we're going to leave you with this, as we do at the end of every show. Remember, addiction is giving up everything for one thing, and recovery is giving up one thing for everything. We're out.